One of really the show's favorite guests. He's been on 3 times, and counting this number 4, we'll do a full-fledged episode number 4 a little bit down the road. But Donta Finney, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan.
Thank you, man. You know, Bucks fan for life, baby.
There's so many questions I want to ask you regarding that. I mean, you're down in Florida, close proximity to the Buccaneers. What has that been like since the move? Have you been able to go to any Buccaneers games?
No, man, I'm actually in Miami territory. So we did go to a Miami game, and on the radio, it's just Miami, Miami, which is cool, man. And when I first moved here, it was a lot of Jacksonville too, because I'm on the Atlantic side. So it's been cool. Definitely a different vibe than hearing the Ravens and the Giants all the time. But hey, once Tom Brady hopped in the mix, it's Bucks news everywhere now, right? So.
Yeah, that is a very interesting thing, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about before we get into that. How long have you been a fan of the Buccaneers? What drew you to them?
Yeah, man, I get asked this a lot. I've actually been a fan since 8th grade, and I would love to have some awesome story, but I really think I just picked my teams in middle school based on color and defense, because I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Ohio State Buckeyes heavy. And there was nothing really special about the Buckeyes back then except for they were red and they had a good defense. So I think I just gravitated towards those things, and ESPN played a lot of Warren Sapp, Brett Favre matches and all that good stuff. So that's what really gravitated me towards it, man, the awesome defense. And this is what I like, man. And here we are.
Were those the creamsicle days? I know we talked about it before. Were that the orange and white, or that's when they went to the pewter and whatever shade of red that is?
Right. Yeah, we talked about that before. We not that old, Earl. There you go, man. But yeah, they had the ugly pewter. They had some good red jerseys though when Sapp and them was on top. They had some cool stuff. Like other teams tweaked everything throughout the years, you know.
Yeah, and when I always think of the Buccaneers, I always think of like the Doug Williams colors and like the Trent Dilfer ones, where it's the white helmet with the Errol Flynn Buccaneer Bruce and the orange jerseys.
Yeah, that's old, man.
But yeah, what is your most memorable moment as a Buccaneers fan?
Easily you always want to say seeing Chucky win the Super Bowl, right? That was always a good visual. You got Sapp and all them boys celebrating. But like I said, man, I thought about it before. The most memorable things I remember is those battles with the Packers, sitting in my kitchen, watching them old games, Warren Sapp, Derrick Brooks, like watching them boys tear up on Brett Favre, man. I guess because my best friend back then was a Packers fan. So seeing that whole thing, man, I really remember those Bucks-Packers games more than anything, yo.
Yeah, and I always think it felt so weird seeing them in the NFC Central. I think the realignment probably did them a bit of good because they're the furthest team out when you think of Chicago, Detroit, Minnesota, Green Bay.
Yep.
But now that old rivalry, it feels weird seeing it again. But now it's the Panthers, the Falcons, the Saints, those teams in the division.
Yeah.
I mean, what were your expectations coming into the year? What were you hoping they were going to do, especially once the news of Tom Brady leaving New England and coming to Tampa?
I mean, I hate to say it, but I got to be bandwagoning, man. It's Super Bowl or bust at that point, right? I mean, we had a good team. We got the coach. The only excuse was what? Winston was a turnover machine. First player to go 30 and 30 TDs, 30 interceptions, I think. So he went 30-30. You think if you replace that with Tom, you going all the way. So Super Bowl, man. And what, they started off 5-2, 6-2. I got looked at it. They started off pretty hot.
When you heard the news that Gronk was coming out of retirement and things like that, did you think that was going to make the offense even more dynamic than it already was? Because they got a lot of weapons in Godwin and Evans and things like that.
I didn't know what to think of. It originally felt like a Jason Witten incident. Remember Witten came back for the year? And he scored touchdowns, right? But that's all they used him for. So I thought it was going to be something like that. But to be honest, I think as the weeks have gone on, Gronk has turned up a little bit. So he's been way better than just a Witten.
Was there a point in the season that you felt the Buccaneers were going to be in the playoffs 100%? I know, especially with the signing of Tom Brady, that changed everything.
I can say honestly, yeah. Man, you know how it is cheering for a team. You never all the way believe. You're always going to feel like something about the bus. But when they're 5-2 to start the season off, yeah, daggone right, I felt real good about the playoffs. That's easy work.
And then where was that point where you were worried about the Bucs making the playoffs, especially as the Saints started to come on with and without Breeze, and everybody started playing a little closer to the field?
Yeah, let's see. So before their bye, they won. Let's see, we got 1, 2. We lost 3 out of the 4 games before our bye. And rough, look, 38-3 against the Saints. Losing like that, it started a little ugly. But then we lost to the Chiefs 27-24, and that's a loss, but not too bad, right? They came on strong at the very end to make the score look better than the game was. So it was a little scary there. It was a little scary. They lost 3 out of 4 games before the bye, so it was a little ugly, but record's still at 8-5, looking good.
What do you think has been the strength of this year's team?
Not the passing game. It's like, no. The run defense, right? So before last week, they were ranked number 1 in rushing defense. I don't want to exaggerate too much, but I'm pretty sure they were number 1 rushing defense before last week. If not, they're number 2 right now. So, I mean, the defense, baby. See, people ain't been seeing that because so focused on the offense, but they've been holding people down.
To you, on either side of the ball, who do you think has been one of the most surprising players?
Surprising players. Oh, man, that's a good one. I know they got some good linebackers. You know who's been the most surprising player? Tom Brady, because he's been slipping. That's why. Because he ain't been the player we all thought he was going to be, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So everybody else has really played their part. The defense has been good. Running back's good. So really, Tom, man, he's been the talk of the town. Because it's been a surprise. It's been very up and down when we're so used to seeing that consistency.
I know you hear about, I guess, the way Bruce Arians addresses Brady's performances. And I don't think it's much different than the way Belichick did in New England. In fact, they always hear the stories of Belichick, if Brady made a mistake, he'd chew him out in front of everybody in practice. So, and especially during the screenings. And it doesn't seem like it's much different than what Arians is doing. I mean, I assume it's one of those things that he's going to talk to Brady, or he's already talked to Brady, and what he's saying to the press isn't any different. I know that Belichick is a lot more tight-lipped as opposed to Bruce Arians.
Come on, we all know Bill said some stuff. I don't think Bruce should be doing it in public the way he is, but they talked about that on, I think it was Colin Cowherd. Bruce Arians talked to all his quarterbacks like that. So, I mean, Tom had to know he was getting into. That dude's smart. If he ain't smart, his team is smart. They looked up the record. They looked up what that guy, past interactions are like, especially with the quarterback. So they knew what they were getting into. It's nothing, just something to talk about. Old school coaching where you can actually chastise and dig in your players' butts a little bit. It's all right.
Yeah, and Arians is, he's coached a lot of guys. I mean, and I think Roethlisberger right at the top. So, I mean, it's carte blanche for him to go at it with the quarterback again. And it's not out of just to embarrass him. It's to say, this is what you need to do. This is improve. There's a fine line between embarrassing.
You can't win, right? Yeah. If you don't blame your quarterback, you're babying him. If you call him out in public, you're being mean and chastising. So it's just whatever the media want to talk about.
Going into the playoffs, who do you think the Buccaneers match up the best with?
Oh, man, that's a great one. A lot of the team's strengths, not to say passing is the strength, but we got a little good passing teams. No teams really rely on the run. But I was thinking about that, man. Arizona would be a good matchup. They're 4th in rushing. They're down at the bottom, too, so I don't know if they'll actually meet up in the playoffs. But if that was to happen, that would be a good matchup. Arizona's 4th in rushing and 18th in passing, so they're not that great. I think the Bucs could hold down the young man, little guy. What's his name? I forgot the boy name.
Kyler Murray.
Kyle Murray. Hold a little man down. I think that would be an interesting matchup, man. I don't want to see him go against the Saints. I don't want to see him go against the Chiefs, even though we had a good one, and that's a good matchup, but to have to contain Mahomes is too much, man. So out of all the teams they could possibly see, a little Arizona matchup they could handle. Anybody else is so pass heavy, I think it's dangerous, yo.
When it comes to the Buccaneers, and especially the experience that Brady has, how do you feel that experience helps with that team. I know he's not flashing his rings around all the time saying, this is what we did, sort of like how on the Waterboy, the head coach at the other school kept flashing the ring and just saying, hey, I know what I'm doing. Just follow me. How do you feel that experience helps the players, especially those guys who really didn't see a lot of winning prior to that?
That's what it's all about, right? You watch sports long enough, some organizations are just, for lack of a better term, losers, right? No matter who you put on the team, it just won't go through for some whatever reason, right? Cowboys, things like that. Having Tom on your sideline gives you that confidence, right? Like, the boy been through it all, man. I think that helps a lot. I think Bruce handles a lot of that, Bruce Arians. I think he's a good coach, keeps everybody motivated. Like, this isn't the end of the world, guys. We're going to make it through. But you got Tom and Gronk on your team. You got to believe, right?
What do you think about Leonard Fournette's performance this season? I know once he got cut by Jacksonville, he was sort of chomping at the bit. A lot of guys were chomping at the bit to come to Tampa. But what do you feel Fournette's performance has done for this team this season, if at all?
I know. So I think he had, not the last game, but the 2 games before that, he had some good games. Before that, nothing, low production, right? But he came on as time went on. None of these running backs are really impressive right now, man. You got Derrick Henry and then everybody else pretty much. Leonard Fournette, I didn't like that move. But,
Yeah.
who else you going to get, right?
Yeah, I think this is sort of a change of scenery thing. Everybody thought, okay, get out of Jacksonville, get out of that purgatory, go somewhere else where the culture should be a lot better, more experienced. Bruce Arians, took the Cardinals to a Super Bowl. And again, Tom Brady, what more do you need to say about his resume? But they just thought that maybe Fournette just needed a change of scheme, change of scenery. And so far, maybe that's the thing. If things don't work out the way they do this year, maybe that's the next thing. Get a running back, a dynamic running back, or somebody in the draft that can really do some damage to sort of take the pressure off the passing game.
There isn't any, man. Running backs is few and far between right now.
Yeah, I feel like that nowadays they are a dime a dozen, but sometimes there are some steals. Even if you can find like a touchdown vulture guy that less than 5 yards, he's going to get in. That might be the thing. You might not need somebody who's going to take over a game like you said, Derrick Henry, but somebody or a Kamara or anybody like that. You just somebody that can just do a serviceable job, don't turn over the ball, and get the yards when you need them.
Well, the young boy Jones that we got now, he's taking care of the ball.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it might be more everybody wants to see the flash than as opposed to the substance. Somebody who's safe and who will get you that chain. Yeah, but they won't break the big long runs like a Melvin Gordon or somebody along those lines.
Well, you don't see a guy like Jones develop too, because what happens when Jones has a good year next year? He get traded. They need to let that man develop. But Derrick Henry, he came out of, hard to say he came out of nowhere, but he came out of nowhere last year, right? So you got to give time people develop, let them stay on the same team, same line, quarterback, coaches. They change them so much, nobody gets that rhythm. So I think if we hold on to our young man for a little bit, we got a chance.
When it comes to the Super Bowl prediction, I know it's extremely early. Who do you have coming out of the NFC? Who do you have coming out of the AFC? And what do you have as the final score?
Yeah, right. I figured this was coming, right? So, you really want me to get on here and go against the Bucs? Come on, man. Bucs going. They're going in. It might be a little bit of a rough, rocky road, but they're going in. Okay? Who we got to worry about? Kansas City on the other side. So, Bucs, Kansas City, man. Got to. Bucs, Kansas City. I ain't going to lie, though. I can't say I can see the Bucs winning. Can't say I see the Bucs winning that one too much. Kansas City for the victory, man. We'll go 46-23.
And you never know what'll happen.
A couple of times I've been wanting to pick Tennessee for sure. Yeah, Tennessee a good team where you can control the ball, man. So watch out for Tennessee. Watch out for Tennessee for sure. Mm-hmm. You know what I want to see though? What would be great? A Bucs-Ravens game. You know why? Because the Ravens ain't got no running game. So no running backs. So I take that back. They got a running game. They don't have any running backs. I feel like that would be a fantastic matchup for the Bucs. That would be some good hometown butt kicking. I would love to see that.
Before we wrap this up, want to give you a chance, opportunity to give a shout out. Do you have any social media tags where people can reach out to you and talk to you and things like that?
Oh, for sure, man. Definitely everybody hit me on Facebook, Donta Finney, Donta. Type that in, I'll pop up, man. For sure, hit me on there. If you want to check me out on Instagram, full contact, the number 4 fun, full contact for fun, man. But Facebook's the place to be. Hit me up on there.